this is time to become a teacher. I'm gonna break down what I think about the different countries in Southeast Asia. Cambodia is a very poor country. You're gonna lack a lot of modern stuff that you would expect back home in your Western country. Definitely, you're not gonna have a lot of the amenities that you would have unless you pay extra at hotels. Cambodia is quite expensive as a tourist because everything's converted to USD. You'll see that like to buy a bottle of water is $1. But when you use the Cambodian real money, it's called real, not the real money, you start realizing it's like 10-20 cents a bottle of water. Another thing on that is when you do leave Cambodia, you need to convert all that money to USD, because once you leave Cambodia, nobody will accept the money. It's not recognized by the World Bank. In regards to teaching, I think it's one of the better options because it requires the least amount of requirements. Really, all you need is a 120-hour TEFL certification. You can do it in a class or online, and that's it. You don't have to do the typical 4-year bachelor's degree. You just do like the background check and the medical check in Cambodia right there. And usually within 2 hours, you got everything done. And it usually costs about $10 to $15 to get it all done. And the cost of living to live in Cambodia, once you start becoming local and finding local people and paying local prices, you actually make a lot of money in Cambodia. If you don't have a degree, I strongly recommend starting off here in Cambodia. Number 2, Laos. So Laos, spelled with an S, is called Lao. There's no Laos. I learned that the hard way. The requirements, you do need a bachelor's and TEFL and all that great stuff. There's just not a lot of opportunity in Laos to be a teacher. And when you do find the opportunity, the pay is typically it's not good at all, man. It's you usually look between like $500 to like $1,200 a month. Now, if you go to the capital in the north, Vientiane, you can get up to like $1,500, $2,000 a month. But those are like universities, higher end schools and stuff like that. The reason I would recommend Laos is for people that are more calm. Laos is like Hawaii. It is so calm, it's so chill. You walk into a store, a bread making shop, right? They make you sandwiches, a sandwich making shop. You go in there, you're like, yo, I want this, this is this. You pay for it, and you end up sitting down and just hanging out for like 20 minutes. Everyone's super nice in Laos too. Like, there's not like a mean group of Lao people really. It's just like they don't care that you're there is one, or two, they're openly like, hey, what's up, bro? What's going on? Kind of a thing, right? But there's never like the rude. They just don't care. So if you have a bachelor's degree, your TEFL, you could definitely teach in Laos. The pay, again, is really low, but the cost of living is low. And there's nothing really modern outside of the capital. But with that being said, let's get to the next one, right next door, Thailand. So Thailand and Laos are actually pretty interchangeable. If you speak Thai, you could go to Thailand and speak Thai because they speak Thai. I really messed up that sentence. Living in Thailand is definitely an awesome thing. It's very modern. I will say, I think living in Thailand can be one of the more expensive spots if you are living in Bangkok or Chiang Mai. If you live outside, this is where a lot of people got confused. I've said this before in a few other videos. Thailand is one of the cheapest countries in all of Southeast Asia. But you have to get out of the tourist areas like Bangkok, Chiang Mai, Phuket. We were paying like $250 US, $260. This was after everything, taxes, utilities, water, and everything, for a 2-bedroom, 2-story house that had parking for a car in a yard. That was ridiculous. The visa process is a pain in the ass. So I ended up working at 3 different schools to kind of experience the Thai teaching life. And what I found out real fast was paperwork in Thailand is very hard to get done. Thailand definitely has some of the hardest legal visa processes for English teachers, for marriage processes, and retirement. The last school we worked at was at Sriracha. And there was teachers there that have been there for a year and a half, still trying to get their visas done. Like, they're still doing visa runs after a year. They were qualified, they had everything. One of the American teachers there already had his documents notarized by the US Embassy. He had his background check. He had to go in and do a background check again because the last one expired because the school, the government were back and forth fighting over. Thailand is definitely, it's a stressful thing. And when it comes to teaching, I think Thailand, next to Vietnam, is probably the worst classes. Like, it's pay to play. Like, you see this stuff in Vietnam, like you pay to get your grades, right? In Thailand, the students know about it. The last 2 schools I worked at, one in Bangkok and one in Sriracha, the kids knew that their parents were paying for their grades. And the reason I knew this was because they would tell us. And then when we had to write the test, you had to write like your midterm and your finals, the Thai teachers were already giving the students grades before we even wrote the test. And then if the students failed, we were told to give them the new test, like rewrite an easier test until they passed. Like, and it was just like, they already gave them grades, who cares? So it is definitely pretty shitty there. But speaking of like bad grading systems in Vietnam. Let's get over to Vietnam. I think Vietnam is probably one of the biggest looked after countries. Everyone wants to go to Vietnam. It's definitely not the visa process. So there's no retirement visas. There's no nomad visas like you'd find in Thailand or Malaysia or Japan. And there's no long-term way to stay there. Now, with that being said, you can do visa runs all the time. And they don't really cap you out. Sometimes they'll stop you, but hey, you've been doing visa runs for like a year straight, bro. Why don't you stay in Cambodia for a week? In regards to living in Vietnam, Vietnam is definitely way cheaper. As long as you stay out of the big cities and the major city areas. Like living in Saigon or Hanoi, I don't know why you'd move to Asia to live in these cities. But when you get to like Hoi An, Da Nang, places like this, dude, it's beautiful. It's an awesome spot to be. Now, speaking about needing a teacher out there, the visa process is pretty fast. You just need to have a bachelor's degree, a TEFL, and then the background, a medical check. And the work permit is for 2 years and you're good to go. The only downfalls about Vietnam is it's chaotic. Like there's no control. Even, and this is something I've learned after 7 or 8 years of living in Vietnam, is the farther out of the city you get into the countryside, the louder and more dirty and polluted it becomes. Like Saigon's dirty, it's loud, it's smoking everywhere, it's karaoke everywhere. But when you get to the countryside, it's almost worse. And then the big disadvantage a lot of people always ask about is you cannot retire in Vietnam. There is no way to retire in Vietnam. You do your job here, you get the fuck out of here. That was Vietnam's logic. And if you guys are aware of like what 2 or 3 years ago when they started kicking out expats like left and right, it wasn't them kicking out expats because they didn't want them there. It was that Vietnamese were taking advantage of the system, helping Western people get like 2-year business visas without having a job, you know, stuff like that. That was the closest I think Vietnam's ever been to having like a retirement option in Vietnam. So with that being said, let's get to the last one, Malaysia. Malaysia, I've only been here for, I think I accumulated like what, 4 or 5 months. I've got to talk to a lot of teachers out here and I've got to drive around and see a lot of the country already. And it's been awesome. We're actually out here in Malaysia in some remote island. It has been really cool. So my assessment going through all of Asia, I think Malaysia is a good country to visit. I would never want to retire here, but it definitely does have its goods and it has its bads. Coming out here to visit, it's relatively cheap. There's a lot of hidden fees in Malaysia, I've noticed. Like they're always just like, you're always getting kind of like tagged with fees. Like if you stay in a hotel, you got to pay like a daily tourist tax. I'm on these ferry things and they charge Americans and UK people an extra, I think it's like 8 RM per person if you're US or UK or something like that. Like, I don't even understand it. Me and this other group, it was like 7 other people, they're all UK. They were just like, what the fuck? But there's always like fees, which is frustrating. That's kind of what I'm trying to point out here, is there's always like random fees in Malaysia. So if you plan on going out and your budget is like $50, bring 70. Because you're probably gonna drop 20 and a bunch of nonsense. In regards to teaching, the requirements are the same. You need a bachelor's degree, TEFL and all that stuff. The education out here is taken a little more serious, but overall that's kind of it, guys. So I mean, what do you think about my thoughts? These are just what I think about living out in Asia. If I was to pick one spot to live, say like I'm gonna retire next week and I need to pick a country, buy a house and just go in it, I would definitely say Thailand is probably the best spot to go. And it would just be mostly because it's the most modern out of all these countries I've been to. It's the most understanding. It's the easiest country to adapt to. It's so easy to adapt in Thailand. Yeah, if you do want to learn a language, it's a challenge. Definitely go to the country, hang out there for like 3 to 5, 6 months. Come out here, like Malaysia, you get 3-month stamp right when you land here. Thailand, you get 1-month stamp. Vietnam, you get a 30-day tourist visa, e-visa. Laos, you get 30 days. Cambodia, you get 30 days. Take advantage of those visas. Get them, walk around, enjoy the views, and then make your decision. But either way, guys, I'm rambling. I'm gonna get out of here. I got a long walk to get back. So till then, guys, thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe, and I will see you. Alright, so we just got back and dude, we went through a boat that was a storm. Like, I am a fucking mess. I unfortunately couldn't record it because we went through a tornado or tsunami or some shit, I don't know. But the Chinese Sea, like from China coming down, is like the big storm. So we caught it, like dude, we were hitting like I almost said 9-meter waves. But it was just insane. I am so, a 20-minute boat ride turned into an hour. People were screaming and stuff, but we are finally back. We are at our, it's a small ass hotel, it's the first thing I could find. Say it is pouring so bad, but we are good. So till then, guys, we're gonna get out of here. I'm gonna clean up. I'm a mess. I feel like shit, but I will see you next video. So till then, I will see you.